Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Look, there's something special about your home area, isn't there? And I, along with many people, signed a petition a few months ago to save Kapiti Cheeses. I have to tell you, it's a bit personal for me. I'm literally sitting in the place where they used to store the Kapiti cheeses. We're in the storeroom. So I'm an old blue cheese maturing here. But also, the fact is that Ross McCullum, who's the man who founded Kapiti Cheeses many years ago, he was an apprentice to my father-in-law. So my father-in-law taught him how to make cheeses. This is personal to me, I tell you. And also, I suspect, well, I hope anyway, it's important to our next guest on the program, Gwynn Compton, Councillor. Gwynn Compton, good morning and welcome to you.
Kia ora, John.
Lovely to talk to you. You were the person behind that Save Kapiti Cheese petition, and I'm sure it wasn't just a cynical political exercise. You really did want to make some kind of point to Fonterra. How is it going?
So we've got over 1,800 signatures so far, and yeah, as you said, it's about making a point to Fonterra. It's about showing those 65 workers and their families that we're all in there to support them, and we want there to be a future for cheese production or food production in Kapiti. But it's also about sending that signal to other dairy companies who might be looking at expanding into the sort of value add or, a gate-to-plate food story that's so powerful nowadays that actually, there's this great story in Kapiti. You might not be able to buy the Kapiti cheese brand, but you'll be able to pick up a skilled workforce and produce that sort of artisanal product that's hugely in demand nowadays.
Absolutely. And you say the Kapiti cheese brand is actually the Kapiti TM brand, isn't it? This is one of the things that annoys me. Certainly it's got the logo or a stylised Kapiti island on top of it, but they've trademarked Kapiti. And that, to me, well, that rankles with me because that is a geographical name. I was beside a truck yesterday when I was going to Wellington. Whopping great big truck, big advertisement on the back for Kapiti organic milk. And once again, they had the TM by the Kapiti. Of course, the ice cream as well. They're promoting that a lot now, having got rid of Tip Top. So that obviously is their ice cream brand. It's getting a tremendous amount of promotion. So obviously, Kapiti is something that is of value to Fonterra. But Kapiti, the region from whence the name came, is likely to not get any of the benefits. So how can we resolve this, do you think?
Well, sort of overturning a trademark is always a hugely difficult thing to do, so I don't know if we necessarily will find any sort of results going down that path. But I think it's about making that case really strongly to Fonterra that they do actually have to have some sort of representation and business in our community to maintain the authenticity of that brand. So many companies around the world are finding success by telling the story of where food has come from. And consumers are demanding that increasingly as well, And where I work in sort of my other job, people are wanting to know where their beef has come from, where their lamb has come from. And we're seeing that now play out in the dairy space as well. You look at what Lewis Road does, and they make a big deal about their suppliers and telling their story and where the factory is and telling the story of that town as well. And that was what was always so strong about the Kapiti brand. And, Fonterra, they've come in, they've bought a successful brand, they've taken it around the world, and that's, will always have some sort of residual benefit for us. But you sort of lose a lot of that authenticity, you lose a lot of the value if that connection's not there. And, Fonterra's never sponsored sports teams in Kapiti, they haven't sponsored community groups. Their involvement has been very much about exploiting the value of that brand, exploiting, our iconic name and the silhouette of our beloved island. And, they owe it to our community, I think, to actually still have a presence here.
So are we going to have a go at calling them out on this?
Absolutely. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping we get to that 2,000 signatures mark soon. We'll send it off to Miles Hurrell, the CEO of Fonterra, and also a range of politicians and actually CEOs of other dairy companies and DCANS, which is the Dairy Companies Association of New Zealand, and just making that really strong point to them that actually this isn't good enough in a world that really values the provenance story of their food. and really values the involvement in small regional communities. And Fonterra says they want to be a champion of provincial New Zealand. You actually have to put your money where your mouth is on that. And, we know Kapiti Cheese has been a successful business. Fonterra, the idea that they're not making money off the Kapiti factory, they're a big organisation. They can actually go in there and they can look at what they're doing and find out, are there sort of really niche artisanal lines that they could do there? Because that's how the brand became successful in the first place.
Do you think the KCDC, the District Council, should be part of this push to add its mana and gravitas to the approach to Fonterra?
Look, I think that's a broader question for council to decide if they want to get involved there. I know that the Mayor has had some initial discussions about whether there'd be some sort of Kapiti Cheese retail outlet there. The one thing I don't think council should do is go in there and try and buy the site or get that sort of financially involved. But I think there's definitely a role for them to play in helping advocate on behalf of the community and sort of lining up all those stakeholders that we know in our community or more broadly there who have an interest in keeping Kapiti Cheese here.
Do you think the council should be involved in discussions with Fonterra in trying to prevent a restraint of trade clause when Fonterra do leave and let's say some kind of co-op or another organisation wants to go in and use those facilities? It is entirely possible that Fonterra could put a restraint of trade clause into any agreement, which would possibly negate any advantages to that incoming organisation. So do you think that that's the kind of conversation that the council could engage in?
Oh, definitely, and it's also a question for the landowner and, what sort of lease arrangement they've got with Fonterra or who they're looking at it possibly coming in there. But I think there's definitely a role for council to say, look, you're using our brand, you've got a responsibility to our community that if you're going to profit off us going forward, you actually need to allow us to have those opportunities to make use of the story that we've been so invested in making successful for you.
This could be an interesting story. We'll have to keep track of it, I think, Gwynn.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's still a bit of water to go under the bridge before Fonterra sort of gets to the point where they're closing down production. So there's still opportunities there, and it's really important as a community that we keep showing that support and we keep showing that we want someone to come in there and keep that story alive for us.
And with any petition, the more the merrier. How do people sign it?
So if they go to savekapiticheese.nz and click through there, they can add their names and share it with their friends and just get the word out there as much as possible.
Gwynn Compton, thank you for joining us this morning on Beach FM.
Thank you, John.
All the best to you. There we are. Gwynn Compton, Councillor Gwynn Compton.
106.3 Beach FM.